If you have a master, you're saying that it is good to stick with that master for the rest of your life?
Many people, at least 90% of them, are living with a victim mentality. And we've seen in life, like somebody has all the money and everything, but does not have peace.
People who just decided to exit the matrix and go live their life and peacefully not disturb anyone.
You just kind of become a robot, blindly following orders, and that's what the powers to be want.
Do you say they're also suffering, struggling with emotions?
80% of the questions are around relationships. Everyone is struggling with relationships. The way you chase your materialistic goals is being grateful and content for what you already have. God is there and you can access it, and once you access it, then life won't be the same again.
Instead of blaming the person in front of you, look at yourself and find out what is that deep thing inside you that's bothering you.
They go and they start cleansing the internal thing, or they do a mantra like Ho'oponopono.
Because a lot of the times what happens is we plan so much for life and we think life is going to be this straight line, but when you play this game of life, it's never a straight line. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Ship with CJ podcast. Today is a super exciting day for me because I'm going to present to you someone who's a dear friend, who's a loved one. I respect this guy a lot, and we're also business partners together. But that's not the reason why he's on the show today. The reason why he's on the show today, because he is a mindset reprogramming and a spirituality coach. What does those two things mean? You're going to find out. Let me introduce to you Mr. Govind Das. Govind, welcome to the Shift with CJ podcast.
Thank you, CJ. Thank you for.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Amazing. Man, I think I have been asking you for over 6 months, and I'm so happy that today the time was right and we could do it. And we love your outfit. Your outfit is really cool.
Thank you.
Now, Govind, a lot of people are wondering what is mindset reprogramming. Everyone's heard about spirituality, but I know that you have so much more to show us on what spirituality really means. But with every conversation, it's always interesting to know why the person is actually in this. So, from what I know, is that you had a very successful corporate career. And people who are in the corporate field, they have all the luxuries of life. They have it going for them. Once you climb the corporate ladder, things become easy. Why did you leave that easy life to jump into something like wellness and mindset reprogramming? What was your why?
My why. So I started off my career early, I think 96, 97. I was in sales. Pretty exciting. Started off. But by the time it was about 2004, which was close to 8, 9 years, the corporate thing kind of started getting to me. And that's when my paths crossed with that of an enlightened master. This is back in India. And I attended a course with him, and he taught us everything about life. Now, this is something very interesting because it's not taught in schools. Parents don't know it. So, it's like monkey see, monkey do. We just ape what our parents, and we just continue life.
What the society is doing?
What society is doing. And you just look around, you see everyone struggling with relationships, with emotions, with their health and stuff. And here was someone who kind of taught us holistically how to live. And he also showed us scientific spirituality. So a lot of times for people, spirituality is something that you do when you're retired and you're in your old
When
age.
you're 60s or 70s.
60s or 70s. And also most of the time spirituality is considered like it's philosophy. So here was someone who was teaching us applied spirituality. So he used to teach us a philosophy from life or from one of the holy books of any religion. It was non-religious. And he would also teach us how to implement that. And then we used to implement that and quickly turn around various aspects of our life. So in about 3 years' time, I reached a state where I was 98% of the time I was happy and peaceful.
Wow, that's a dream state for most people.
Yeah. So, and that was purely because of implementing these formulas of life, getting my relationships right, getting my equation with the source right, and then getting my health right, all those aspects. So that's what started the journey. But I continued to be in the corporate world because there was there was a family, there was a lifestyle, and then I moved to Dubai and I worked till about 2021, and that's when a special light entered my life.
Was that the C light or not that one? We can't use that word, otherwise on algorithms it's going to be messy. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, so it's called the Lucia light, and from there,
Aha.
yeah, so that was something that was healing people in a non-invasive way, and I quit my corporate job, and by then it was like 24 years, and I was tired of being inside the matrix and the rat race. It was the same old rigmarole. So this was something which is my playing field. I found my purpose, and I play 7 days a week right now. I don't even work. So that's how my journey, the switch happened, and I'm a rebel. So for me, it didn't take much to make the jump.
Yeah, people who have those rebellious personalities in them, then it's very easy for them to adapt to anything and then to even pivot. Because a lot of the times, what happens is we plan so much for life and we think life is going to be this straight line. But when you play this game of life, it's never a straight line. But people will still use their mental, physical, energetic bodies to kind of like go on that straight line. But sometimes you just got to pivot. And people who have certain personality types in them, it's very easy for them to pivot because they don't look back. So I think you're one of those, so it was easy for you. Can you name this enlightened master? Is it public knowledge? Can we know about
Yeah,
it?
yeah. His name is Mahatria. He's
Mahatria.
an enlightened master from India. He travels around the world and does sessions. But I've also, as part of spirituality, I drink from all the oceans. But I also believe that one shouldn't do spiritual shopping, which a lot of people do. They keep
Can
moving
you
from.
explain what is spiritual shopping?
They try, people come, they try some path or a master or a guru for a while, and then they switch to the next one, and then they switch to the next one. That's not something you won't get anywhere when you're like that. So if you found a master, then you stick with him and you go all the way. And in the overall scheme of things, the master, and if you have an enlightened master on your spiritual journey, then he accelerates that journey. So.
So it doesn't work like traditional schooling system because now when we look at a traditional schooling system, if you're in grade 10 or year 10, then you have a teacher for that year. And then that teacher would hand you over to someone in grade 12 or university. So spirituality doesn't work this way. So if you have a master, you're saying that it is good to stick with that master for the rest of your life?
Yeah, until the master tells you, now you're
Graduated.
now
You
you've
can.
graduated and you need to go. Some of them sometimes lead you to another master, but then if you found and enlightened masters like, let's say, Sadhguru or Mahatria or Sri Ravi Shankar or any of them, then I think you just stick with your guru and go through the journey.
Yeah, I remember about a year ago you told me about Mahatria, and for me, I've also been around very intrigued about spirituality, and I've looked at a lot of different masters, at least the work, which is you mentioned Sadhguru and Sri Ravi Shankar, and a lot of them, all of them, I highly respect. But Mahatria is a word, or like Mahatria is a person that never came under my radar until you told me about Mahatria. I remember I was in your house and you showed me a book, and I was like, okay, this person seems interesting. Um, let me kind of like learn about him. And I remember last year I was in Bali and in Thailand. And what I did for the next 3 months is like I listened to every podcast of his. So Mahatria is a spiritual teacher. He has podcasts, YouTube videos, courses. But I took the podcast route. When I was walking on the beach, I was just listening to him. And some of the things, like Govind said, it's really, he teaches you how to apply things in your life, and that's what makes such a big difference, because some of the times you can get highly philosophical and you can talk about concepts and fancy language, which sounds good, but it doesn't really work. Now, what were the top 3 things that you have learned from Matra that you could share today?
One of the biggest thing that happened was my connection with source, because that's like the master key to
When you
everything.
say source, you mean God?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's people sometimes get irked with the word God. So
Yeah,
God
because it's
slash
my God versus your
yeah, God,
God
yeah,
versus
yeah.
someone
So
else's God.
let's say God slash source slash universe, whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
but that that supreme energy center. So that connection got established, and it's not just an intellectual connection that happened. There was a physical experience which happened, with third eye opening and
Can you describe that experience? Because a lot of the times people have. So in the 60s and the 70s, there was this whole culture of hippies all around the world, right? And hippies were basically people who just decided to exit the matrix and go live their life and peacefully not disturb anyone. And a lot of these people who came to the Eastern traditions from the West, they started living in the East. So they started using terminologies from the East, like dharma, artha, karma, moksha, all these different karma, whatever. And then they go back. And now there is this trend that a lot of westernized people are also using some of the, it could be like traditional Chinese words or Sanskrit words, but some, like some people have some sort of an idea, but still most of the people haven't had stepped into that sort of an experience yet. So when you talk about experience, when you talk about third eye opening, most people have heard about third eye. But what is a third eye opening experience? If you can describe it in like brief.
So we have, seven major chakras. There are more chakras, but let's say seven major chakras. So one of them is the third eye chakra, which is between your eyebrow. So connected to the third eye chakra is also the pineal gland, and we are actually not human beings. We are actually spiritual beings having a human experience.
I love
So
that.
yeah, so as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, we are also multidimensional beings. So we actually exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. You know, it, the
It's a
concept at least,
multiverse
it's a
theory.
multiverse, and it's a, and even I won't go into this much because then it gets a little
Complex.
complex. Like time is not linear. In the ultimate reality, time doesn't move from 2024 to 2025 and 2026, and we age.
It
That's what it
exists all at
seems
the
like.
same time.
It exists all at the same time. So there are parallel dimensions existing where a 16-year-old CJ, a 35-year-old CJ, a 70-year-old CJ, all are existing right now in the now in parallel dimensions.
So
So
this multiverse theory, I just wanted to say that it's something that people now talk about quite a lot because of movies like Doctor Strange and Marvel, where they sort of they think that they have come up with this concept. But I know that there are so many different cultures, including the Indian cultures, which have been talking about the multiverse for a very long time. There are written texts on how Krishna actually goes on and explains this dimension of multiverse and exactly what you're saying to Brahma in like a story which we don't want to get into. But all of these things have been there in the past. I think now is being rediscovered and people are getting more acceptance. And also time, like you mentioned, time in the English language is just one word. But if you look at the Greek philosophy and the Greek language, they have chronos and kryos, two words. In the yogic Sanskrit terminologies, there is Kala and Mahakala, which means the time and the greater time, which encompasses all time. So this is a concept that is not new. It's nothing that, if someone is listening, I would encourage you to actually go online and search about this, because from the South American cultures to the European Greek cultures to the Hindu cultures, we all have this common consensus that time is not linear. But yeah,
yeah.
continue.
So from the pineal gland or the third eye chakra is the one that's like a transistor in a radio. So the transistor in a radio pulls the various stations. So similarly, the pineal gland connects you to other dimensions. And so spiritual people kind of know how to access the third eye and access those dimensions. Sometimes people access those states through psychedelics,
Interesting.
and through this special light I was talking about. That also, when you use the Lucia light, you get into an altered state of consciousness pretty quickly. And then I've seen about 10-15% of them have a time travel experience in that. So during which they, thanks to their pineal gland, they find themselves in space, in ocean, in a forest, or in a past
Astral traveled.
astral travel, or they might find themselves in a past life. Some of them are given a glimpse of the future, and these are not,
Wow.
and these are ordinary people, and we've even had celebrities having these experiences. I've done it for quite a few of them in the last 3 years. So when we go into this retreat with enlightened masters, what happens is they start cleansing your aura and your energy fields using the special field that they create there.
Do they use some sort of a technology,
No,
or
there's
is
no
it like
technology.
ancient technology?
Ancient technology,
Okay.
energy. So they use that, and the master goes into you and starts actually inheriting some of your karmic debt, and then infusing with his positive good karma, and then your energy is slowly the kundalini, which is energy that's at the base of every human being's spine. It's a
No matter
dormant,
what culture or religion they
no
belong to.
matter what culture or religion. It's a dominant force, a very powerful force, and 98% of people live and die without experiencing a Kundalini awakening. So sometimes when you are with ascended masters and you are ready for it in divine timing, the Kundalini starts awakening, and they help you awaken it in the right way. They can help you control it, because if you try to awaken on your own, you can probably go mad, because there have been instances of people who've gone cuckoo. So it's a very potent force not to be messed with. You don't go to internet, find a YouTube video and start doing it. It has to be done under the expertise of a guru or a master or someone who's trained in it. So what happens is, then in some of them, along with this Kundalini awakening, the third eye chakra opens, which has remained closed for many of them. It used to be very active at the time of our grandparents and before that. With industrialization, people lost the connectedness to earth, to their roots, to their, and we started wearing shoes. We've lost touch with earth. We don't do grounding anymore. So all these things came in. Materialism came in, and
Also, things like fluoride, because
yes.
I think one of the things that not destroys, but it forms crystals in the pineal gland is fluoride. And from the Industrial Revolution and later, especially in North America, the amount of fluoride that is in tap water, all access to water, and even some of the toothpaste that
Toothpaste,
we
yeah.
have.
Almost
Yeah,
all of the toothpaste.
exactly. Unless you get something Ayurvedic,
Plant
which
bases.
most of the Ayurvedic toothpaste as well have fluoride. And it also says it has fluoride. It's like a badge of honor. But what it actually does is good for the enamel and for the tooth. But when that when that substance is absorbed by your body, it travels right into your brain and it forms these crystals. And like you were saying earlier, this transistor effect, where your pineal gland actually pulls in some of the minerals, and when you use your own focus in meditation or some sort of an energy, then it acts to make it compresses the pineal gland to release a physioelectric effect, which then can help you either get into higher states of consciousness or travel in different dimensions. But I think, do you think by any chance that, you know 90% of the world is controlled by maybe 5% or 10% of the people, and probably the 10% of the people in the world knew that the effects of pineal gland could be great because now you cannot control people, and they started funding research, bringing out these chemicals into existence because it was never there. So they brought all these chemicals into existence so we could not live at a higher reality.
Yes.
You think so? Okay.
That's correct. So in fact, it goes as way back to early last century. So I've read somewhere that Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin used to put a lot of fluoride into the water of the soldiers because they wanted compliance. So what happens is when your pineal gland gets into the state of calcification, either through fluoride or blue light. Now it's come with the modern age that came as the blue light from mobiles and laptops, artificial light in malls and offices. Everything messes with the pineal gland. And in the traditional days, they used to decalcify the pineal gland by staring at the early morning sun or late evening sun,
Interesting.
and or they stare at a candle in the night. This starts decalcifying the pineal gland. So what happens is when your pineal gland is completely calcified, you become a dumb human being, disconnected from the universe,
No offense to all the dumb human beings.
and you just kind of become a robot, blindly following orders, and that's what the powers to be want. They don't want you to be questioning them, having access. uh, you generally look at life itself. If let's say you're dieting and you just go into a store, you'll find 99% of the products are unhealthy, the food products that's shown. And it's the same thing with spirituality. When you've had a spiritual experience for the first time and you just come and look at the world, it's a complete anathema of how the world ideally should be. everyone's operating with masks, and most importantly, everyone's caught in the eat, sleep, drink, entertainment cycle. And they think that's all there is to life. And actually, if you can pull yourself out of this, there is magic to be experienced. You can actually have an access to your divine self. You can access, you know, some of the cultures have taught you that God is somewhere out there in heaven, and you're this petty mortal down here. That's not true. I do a lot of deep research over the last 20 years, and it's you're the microcosm. You're the microcosm from the macrocosm. You're the jivatma from the paramatma. So we have those same powers. We are actually co-creators. So it's not like we are thrown into this play and we are left to the mercy of fate. He or she has given us the power to co-create and have fun. So that's what I do as part of my life's work. I see that many people, at least 90% of them, are living with a victim mentality. And then there are this 10% who are magicians, and they use things like concepts like law of attraction and manipulate energy to make things happen for them effortlessly and seamlessly.
Interesting.
This is because there's a lot of science, In fact, there is this very interesting professor called Michio Kaku. He's a theoretical physicist. He's one of the, I think Times Magazine considered him one of the top 100 influential personalities of the 21st century. So I once had the opportunity to attend his conference in Singapore, and he has a video in YouTube which says God is a mathematician. So if you look generally around, you look at a flower, there's a lot of symmetry. So even among all the apparent chaos that you see in life, there is still a symmetry connecting everything together. And from that perspective, this energy called God is there, and you can access it. And once you access it, then life won't be the same again. Then you can start playing. So my job or my role in the world today, I believe, is to help teach enough people about how to get their life right. So initially they need to do a little bit of healing work, and they need to reprogram their subconscious mind. So the first question you asked is, what are the three things you learned from Mahatria? So one was how to get connected to source and use the energy of faith to live effortlessly and have things come to you effortlessly. The second thing is how to get your emotions and mental makeup right. So if you generally go into any retreat and you see a master is there and people send him questions, 80% of the questions are around relationships. Everyone is struggling with relationships, whether it's parenting, whether husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, your parents or your friends. Everyone's struggling.
Would you say they're also suffering or like struggling with emotions?
Yeah, so they're struggling with emotions. They don't know how to manage emotions. So our society and our education system basically only trains you to get a job and make money, buy a house, buy a car, and the yardstick of success is completely driven around materialism. While if you actually ask, somebody has to be a holistic success. So their health, the physical personality it needs to be in place. So the health needs to be in place. The mental personality, which is the mind, needs to be in shape. The intellectual personality, which is your discriminating faculty between right and wrong, that needs to be in place. The emotional personality, which is your how you have to be emotionally equanimous, and then your spiritual personality. And we've seen in life, like somebody has all the money and everything, but he does not have peace.
They're depressed
Yeah,
most
they're
of the time.
depressed. Or someone has everything, they don't have health. Or someone has all of the four, but he feels hollow within because there's no connection to source.
Yeah.
So so the second thing was this, and the third one was he kind of showed us that we are actually biomagnetic beings, and it's possible because we are biomagnetic beings, and the property of a magnet is to attract and repel. So the way most people are living currently is because they don't have access to this information. They have become very powerful magnets for attracting more misery and negative situations into their life, negative people into their life, and they keep repelling the good people and good situations away from their life. And it's possible to just reverse the whole thing and start attracting more good people and more good situations into your life, and then keep the the negative people and the negative situations to a bare minimum or almost nil. And I'm talking from practical experience. So, when I started implementing this for almost a year, this was back in 2005, zero fights, zero conflict. Before that, I was this angry young man. I was angry with the world, angry with my parents. I used to snap at the drop of a hat. Somebody needs to just tick me off on the road, or a waiter needs to just, keep it with a little bit of disrespect. And I used to blow my fuse. And then suddenly, I this become this Zen monk.
Zen master.
And most importantly, the environment change. So when your vibration changes and you elevate, then you start attracting people and situations based on the vibration you are at. Obviously, still there would be someone who comes in, but that's because they have some karmic debt to be squared off with you. So that's when they, come in. There's some small thing, and you learn your lesson, and they leave. But largely, even when you choose not to have control over your life. So if you see, there are people who are control freaks, but if you see, when true spirituality happens, there is a huge surrender to the divine will, and it is thy will versus your will. Most of the time, people operate with ego, and then they want to, they like, I need to get this, I need to achieve that, and
Or
everything.
they're too attached to
They're
the
too attached to the
outcomes
outcome.
or their material positions
Yes.
or to their relationships or to their job or to
Yeah.
their car.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think, yeah, what you're saying is very interesting.
In fact, the whole paradigm right now, I'm trying to say, so we're not trying to show that materialism is bad. In fact, my whole philosophy, which is again was imbibed from my master, and I say it in a funny term, is that you need to be spiritually aligned and you need to own a Ferrari. It's not
Nice.
this or that. You need to have both, and it's possible to have both. The mystic Osho, who was another enlightened master, who was one of the most revolutionary masters,
How many
who
Rolls Royce did he have? It was
99.
99 Rolls Royce. Look at this guy.
And that was basically just to show the middle finger to Rockefeller, who was the richest man on earth at that point in time. Even he didn't have 99 Rolls Royces. So Osho was not never attached to any of those things. And he had this concept of Zorba the Buddha, which he said the modern man would be Zorba the Buddha. And he explained it. He said, in the past, Buddha was, someone who you close your eyes and you can go into silence very easily. And this is a talk he gave in 1970s and 80s. So he's saying the modern mind is very neurotic. So when you close your eyes and you want to try to meditate, you have 10 thoughts popping into your mind. And after a while, you're like, this is not for me, and you just give up, right? So he taught some active meditations where you can, switch your thoughts to the bare minimum and be like a Buddha. And at the same time, you are also Zorba. Zorba is an utopian Greek character who was a party animal, full of life, celebration, somewhat like Krishna. So most of the time, you see someone on the extreme of materialism and party animal, hedonist, and then you have the other side, the spiritualist. He's a pauper, he's living on alms, he's broke, like the hippies you mentioned. So the ideal thing is you need to integrate both, and it's possible to integrate. And this is what even in the spiritual world they talk about, integrating light and shadow and everything. You integrate, and you can, and we are multifaceted, right? So you also in your life you played various roles. You play the role of a brother, you play the role of a son, of a boyfriend, various roles that you play, and each require different skill sets and different ways that you manage your emotions and stuff. Same thing with life. You can be this party animal and you can be this extremely spiritual person. I embody it, so I know it's possible, and I'm completely at peace with myself. Sometimes people look at me and they think I'm a paradox, or they, people who can't comprehend will call you a hypocrite. I don't know where that judgment comes from. And I'm cool with it. It's like, it's
I'm really interested to know, you talk about this time where you were an angry young man and then you started doing this practice, which got you into this sense of calm. You had no fights for the year. Can you share with us, like, maybe one or two steps of that practice? So people who are listening today, a lot of people these days, I mean, I can only tell from my experience, but a lot of people these days are angry, they're frustrated, they don't have patience or can be persistent into doing anything that really matters to them as well. So, what would be that one or two things that actually calm you down? Because maybe there's someone angry who's watching today.
okay. So generally, people try to solve at the level of their mind most issues, and that's not the place where I like to solve issues. I like to work with energy at the level of energy and try solving issues because that's kind of permanent.
What do you mean by working with energy?
Energy. So we are energetic again. We are biomagnetic beings. We are energetic beings. So let's say most normal people, and I don't mean to say this in a derogatory way. Let's say common man,
The average.
average guy. They are, let's say, operating at 100 kilowatts of energy. Again, this is a very crude thing just to explain the concept. The one who's operating at 500 or 600 is king or queen. And the one who's operating at 100, for him, life is normal. Some days it's good, some days it's bad, some days life is nice, some days it slaps you around. And these are the guys who are generally, just going about victim mentality, many of them. But the one who's at 500, 600, they are manifestors. So they, at that level, they attract the experiences that they want, they attract the wealth that they want, they attract the partner that they want. And it's a very interesting game. So how do you go from 100 to 500? And only when you reach in, when you're ascending in this energy scale is when your vibrational reality changes. So you'll find that even people won't even come into your reality to piss you off, or the whole. So the people who are vibrating at this level, the angry guys, they attract on a daily basis the angry boss, the angry.
Because that's what they're looking for as well.
Yeah. So that's the energy that they're emitting, and that's what they will attract. When you move to a different vibration and you are peaceful, basically there's this concept that your outer world is a reflection of your inner world.
I've heard
So
that.
if your inner world is kept peaceful and happy, the outer world has to reflect it. Now you personally don't have any control over the outer world. You can't control how your boss reacts, or your spouse reacts, or your children react, or whoever reacts. But you have complete control over your inner world. So if you find that someone is shouting at you, it's actually a time to pause and see, because that person is actually mirroring to you that you have agitation in your inner world, and you need to work on it, because that's showing up as an angry boss or an angry colleague or whatever it is. So most wise people or spiritual people, they, instead of shouting back at that person who shouted at them, they go and they start cleansing the internal thing, or they do a mantra like Ho'oponopono, which is a
Ho'oponopono.
Hawaiian mantra. It's called. This is 4 sentences in English, but
I've
it's,
heard you speak about this before, but I would love to share this with the audience.
yeah, this is so, it works like a magic bullet. So it's 4 sentences in English, so it's not some complicated Sanskrit mantra, but it's very powerful. It's, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. So if, let's say, someone shouted at you, and typical reaction we have is, okay, how dare he shout at me?
You either shout back
Yeah,
or you're
yeah.
just
So
shouting.
now what you do is, when you shout back, you're creating more karma, and you don't want to create more karma. So at the same time, there is this anger within you, and you can't suppress it, because then that will cause internal damage to your organs and your entire system, right? So you need to transmute this, and one of the best ways is to do Ho'oponopono, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. So you think of that person, or you think of that situation, and you say, I'm sorry, please, even though he shouted at you, you or he or she shouted at you, say, I'm sorry, please forgive me,
You
thank
have
you.
to say this loud. How many times do
No,
you have
no,
to say
you
it?
can say it in your mind.
So let's say if person X shouts at me, then I imagine person X and I say, I'm sorry, person X. Thank you, person X.
Yes, I mean, I'm sorry, please forgive me,
Please forgive me, person
thank you,
X. Thank you.
I love you.
I
You don't
love
have to
you.
say person X. You just have to just say, you just have the
Think
thought
about the
process.
person.
Think about that person and that situation. This is very useful, and this would be a very interesting tool for women, because I've generally, I've seen that when we grew up, you saw your mothers and aunts, and they're all having fights and emotional upheavals,
Yeah.
and then what happens is they go into this whole rut. A negative experience or memory comes up with charge, and then they think of how that betrayal happened and how that the fight happened, and then they get sucked into that energy, and that goes in a negative spiral. Not only does it reprogram their subconscious to attract more negative situations and more negative people into their life, it also creates more karma, and it's not useful. Right now what happens is, when this memory is coming up, which is like a missile, you put a counter missile like Ho'oponopono. So you ask me how many times to say it. You say it till this whole memory just subsides. Usually in the past, masters have taught you that, if you're upset, just go for a walk, listen to your favorite music.
That helps also.
Yeah, that also helps. But that helps when the negative emotion is minimal, like a small, but when something like death or betrayal, all that stuff happens, you can't just snap out. You can't sit and do
Strategy.
gratitude and all that stuff. So you need to do something like Ho'oponopono, and that really helps. So that's a thing. The other one is actually practicing gratitude. So connection to source, like the way you chase your materialistic goals is being grateful and content for what you already have. Now you chase your materialistic goal. It can be a car, it can be a house, it can be the bungalow, whatever it is, but you chase it happily. Most people get attached to their desire, and then they get frustrated when the desire doesn't happen in their predetermined time frames they've given themselves,
Yeah, they
and
think
then
of their expectation.
their expectations. So the way, and this is something which Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, it's like the quintessence of Bhagavad Gita, and that's very difficult for a Western trained mind to understand. And we are all actually Western trained minds, even though we are from the Indian
Indian region.
culture,
Yeah.
right? So the Western trained mind is like, I have a goal, I work for it, and I bloody well get the result. But Krishna says to Arjuna that you have the right to put in your effort, but you don't have right to the fruit of your effort. Now that's something which people can't comprehend, right? They're like, if I work for it, I better get it. But what you do is you need to have the desire, and then you need to have enough intensity behind that desire. At the same time, you should be detached from the outcome of that desire. you know so you have to be detached, and you can't also get desperate when it's not happening at your predetermined time
And not
frames.
get angry if you're
Yeah,
expecting something to happen.
true. Desperation might not deny, but it will definitely delay. So that energy that you're putting out, like it's not happening. So we're all, again, we're having this whole talk about energy, right? So what you are emanating, what you are being in yourself, that's what you resonate, and that's what you attract. So if you want peaceful relations, you need to be peaceful yourself. It's not like if he changes, I'll be happy. If she starts behaving
This is
better,
what everyone does actually.
everyone does.
Everyone
Yeah.
says, "Oh, only if she could understand this, only if, she folded the clothes or didn't bang the door or something." And we face this so many times. This is, I think, one of the most common things that everyone faces, and they always blame a situation, a person, a personality, the way they say things, the way they are. But what you're saying is completely different. You're saying, instead of blaming the person in front of you, look at yourself
True.
and find out what is that thing, what is that deep thing inside you that's bothering you. And perhaps that's the thing you have to get rid of.
Yeah.
And it's about changing that whole perspective on the thing. Because, for example, let's take a common one. Someone shouts at you. Now you think, oh my God, how can someone shout at me? That person disrespected me. This person doesn't think I'm worthy, or you can have all these labels, right? But if you look at what Govind is saying, if a person has shouted at you, in reality, that person has done some action that has nothing to do with you. He probably has directed that statement towards you, but at the end of the day, it's just a statement. You can get over with it. What is the internal thing that is bothering you? Oh, that person did not respect me. Do you have any self-respect issues? Do you think that the world outside is not respecting you at different times? Because one other reaction could be, I met a crazy person who just started shouting today. Haha, joke. So these are those two perspectives that you can take. One is, look at something and not be too serious about it, not let it bother you, because some people would, I know of these people and I've met so many of them in my life. If someone shouts at them, they cannot sleep for 2 nights and they cannot eat for a week. That's the effect. And to be honest, if you put the same person, it's only about the perspective. They look at it as if, whatever, there are so many people who shout in the day, one other person who's shouting, and let's move on.
Yeah. And coming back to this thing where you mentioned, can you probably show people a process by which they can raise their energy from 100 to 500 and raise their vibration so that they start attracting better. So one of the most powerful thing is unlocking psychic energy from your chakra centers. So you do a certain type of sound meditation, which is either so you take a deep inhalation. So basically, there is a process where you find a spot, you sit cross-legged, and then you keep your hands like this, or you keep your hands like this in mudras. And so that creates a bandha where your energy system is locked. And then you keep your back straight, and you choose a spot in your house, and you do the meditation every day in that spot, just for 10 minutes to start with. And if someone says they're too busy for 10 minutes, then good luck. So you find that spot and do it at a time when people are asleep. There's no disturbance. There's nothing that you need to rush to. So let's say you have office at 8 o'clock. You shouldn't be doing it at 7:30. It should be like at 6 o'clock when you know that everything is peaceful and calm. Your mind is calm and stuff. So you keep your eyes closed. Sit in those postures and then focus on your breath for 2 minutes, the in breath and out breath. So that calms you down further. And then you take a deep inhalation. This is one mantra. If some people have religious considerations and challenges, then this is the easiest thing to do. There's something even more powerful, which is Om, which is
And this has, again, one more time, I want to just make this very clear that this has nothing to do with religion.
Absolutely.
It's not like, you're practicing a religion when you're saying Om. It's a universal sound and frequency, which scientifically is proven to do a lot of things.
So you continue chanting this for about 10 minutes. So your eyes are closed. Approximately, you think it's about 10 minutes. So you keep chanting the sound or the Om sound. And when it's about approximately 10 minutes, you just stop and freeze and you become still. And in that instance, what happens is your thought traffic kind of becomes like zero thought for a few microseconds, maybe. And that's the actual state of meditation, or stillness is also equated with God. So when you are in those moments, you get a glimpse of God. So the sages and masters, they are constantly in that silence.
Wow.
The ones who are starting off, we get microseconds or seconds of that glimpse. And this is another thing people do, right? Like, they try meditation and then they have 10 thoughts bombarding, and then they just stand up and say, this is not working for me. Now, if you have to be employed in a job, you have to go through 15 years of school, and then you need to do 3 years of graduation, then you need to do 2-3 years of post-graduation, and then internship, and then finally you're qualified to go to the job market. What makes you think that you can just sit in, for 10 minutes and then suddenly experience
Magic will
nirvana
happen.
and things? So it doesn't. It needs effort, but the results are amazing, and it's holistic. Like, it's not just your health that will improve. It's not just your mind that gets calm. It's even your success. And this is something, people are all drawn to success and money and everything. So success will happen to you easily when you are at that 500, 600 range. And then your emotions are also, when you have awareness, when you practice this method, you are more aware. When you're sitting with yourself, you're more aware. Most people are reacting to life. When you are a meditative person, you start responding to life. So if someone shouts at you, most people just shout back, right? They're reacting. But if someone shouts at you, you can choose, do I want to shout back or do I want to just walk away? It's you respond, and that's where your power lies. And that's generally possible only when you take these pauses and you do this. So this particular process easily will, let's say you practice it for a month. And it's not like you need to practice it for a year. You practice it for a month and you'll see that your energy levels are going up, your health is improving, all that stuff. But there's another thing that needs to be taken care of. All the negative emotions are energy dissipators. So it's like a hole in the bucket. You fill the bucket, but if there's a hole, the water keeps going away. Similarly, you do this process and you build your energy levels to 500, but let's say you are always getting angry at a drop of a hat, or you're fearful and you're worrying and you're jealous and you're guilt tripping. All these are energy dissipators. So you need to fix these as well. So anger, it's okay to be angry. You need to snap out quickly. Even sages get angry. The only thing is some people get angry and then they are angry for a week, for a month.
For
I know
life.
people for years also they're angry. And then you have, so you need to snap out, that's all. Fear and worry are products of the ego. And this exists when you do not have a connection to source. Now, as I was telling you, connection to source is like the master key for everything. Like, it's the answer to all your problems. People are generally suffering in life because they do not have a connection to God. And when I say connection, I'm not talking about the Friday Muslim, Sunday Christian, Tuesday Hindu, who just go and do their rituals and come out. I'm talking about a very deep connect like Rumi and Allah, Meera and Krishna. That level of surrender and devotion and faith. When that connect is there, miracles happen. And then the divine's energy is available to you. So it's like getting God into your team. And now things become miraculous. You start experiencing miracles on a daily basis, and you've seen his hand above you. You see, every time you see synchronicities happen in your life, that's a wink from the universe saying,
So that's
listen,
God in your
it's
team.
God in your team. And that's a smart way to live. Why would you want to struggle?
Yeah.
Why would you want to go through ego? So if you see, fear and worry are products of the ego. And when your relationship with God is there,
Elevated.
ego and God cannot coexist. Simply cannot coexist. So ego drops. And when ego drops, fear and worry drops. And that's two of the biggest emotions people are suffering with. So the smartest thing you can do is
Raise up your energy.
raise up your energy and be connected to source. In fact, this is also, when it comes to relationships, it's an antidote to heartbreak, right? I always tell, ideally your life should revolve around God. You wake up in the morning thanking God. You go through the day with Him. You laugh with Him. You cry with Him. You scold Him,
Yeah, could
and
be
you
your
go
best friend.
be best friend, right?
Yeah.
And your life revolves around God, and you'll never be let down. And most of the time, let's say you take the case of a woman, most of the time they make their boyfriend or husband the center of their existence, and their life revolves around this person. And man being man, sometimes he can falter, and when he falters, your entire life just comes crashing down. You get into depression and all that stuff. It's not a smart way to live. The smart way to live is be centered in God, and the boyfriend or the husband is a bonus. You will
Anything in life is a bonus.
anything is
Then.
in life. So this is another concept. You need to practice detached attachment. People also with parenting, they say my child, it's like their pet project. Whatever they couldn't achieve in life, now they want to achieve it through the child. And they think they own the child, and then they curtail its mind, its creativity, and they want the baby to, or the child to take the direction what they want it to take. It's not the ideal way. So as I was saying, smartest way to live is have source energy, and everything else is like a bonus. If they are there, you have great fun with them. But sometimes life can, and life is all about change. We are always in this thing that life is never ending. But suddenly we hear this person we know is gone, that person's gone, and I think a lot of people lost during the recent COVID episode. A lot of their dear ones. So it's a small, short life, and if you know how to live it well with peace and happiness and celebration and everything, and partying with God, what more better thing can you
Yeah,
ask
I
for?
would love to have God as my best friend and partying with him. Govind, you are such a wealth of knowledge. We could keep talking on forever and ever, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to hear more from you. So we'll do a part two to this.
Sure.
Thank you so much for coming on the Shift for CJ podcast. Thank you so much for bringing the teachings from your enlightened master, from all the people that you have seen, all the books that you've read, all the healings that you've done. I truly appreciate you. If someone wanted to find out more about you, how can they get in touch with you?
I've been pretty late to the social media scene, but my Instagram handle is Govind H,
Okay.
Govindh.
We will put this in the show notes.
Yeah, so you can just follow me
Amazing.
there.
Thank you so much. And this is me, CJ, your host, signing out of the Shift with CJ podcast. I hope you learned something today about yourself, your life, your relationship, about the greater world out there. I highly recommend that you take some time, go look for things on the internet. Now things are more easier than ever. And good luck with your life.